ordinance proposals, one relating to conveyance of property, another one relating to rights of way. Then we have our consent agenda, and then we have under old business, appointments to boards and commissions. New business, we have award of bids, actuarial services, police department, financial audit, which I think we need to do the financial audit, that's time sensitive. And then a proposal on an agreement with the Department of Human Services, and a resolution regarding municipal road and bridge revolving fund, which I know is important to us because we're talking about going to voters for money on that. So with that in mind, I guess I would entertain a motion to extend to 10:20.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Zawinski, is there a second? Seconded by Councilors McGee and Yazbek. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? On the ordinances,
Make a motion to continue them to which date?
well, if we're going to continue them, we're going to have to if we continue them, they're going to have to be continued to May 19th.
So
Why don't you just do the first reading tonight? That's all it is.
Yeah.
And it's a timely issue.
Is one of them more timely than the other, or are they both?
Both.
Okay.
Because we have a truck dealer on Industrial Drive who would like to purchase the right-of-way to Comstock that's not being used. So these have to be done together. They should have been done 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. So it's an economic development issue at this point, because we don't want to lose that.
Anybody object to doing a first reading of these two ordinances this evening? Okay, so with that, I would ask town planner to briefly describe the proposed ordinances and the rationale for them.
The first one is the method of convenience, which I've taken from Lincoln's ordinances, and basically it's by sealed bid, public auction, or hiring a real estate.
Let me just be clear what item we're on. We're on
The
item
conveyance.
7, proposed ordinance regarding Chapter 6, Article 4,
Yes.
conveyance of property owned by the town. It's
Right.
listed as both a public hearing and discussion by council vote or other action on first reading.
Right. So the principle here is that you get fair market value for the property, don't give it away. There is a myth in the state that when you abandon land, it automatically gets given half and half to the butters on either side. I'll talk about that in the second half. There is a strange reference in state law, but it's not that. It's fair market property, fair market value is the principle in all cases. So when we have land in town, acquired a number of different ways, and abandonment of a right-of-way is also a way for the town to acquire land as if it were a lot as opposed to a right-of-way. This does exempt nonprofits from the requirement for fair market value, assuming that there are significant returns of non-monetary nature, and it requires town council approval.
Any questions from the council?
I do. 6.30 manner of sale. B, in the event the real property is offered by sale by competitive bidding, the sale shall be conducted, shall be conducted in substantially the same manner as set forth in section 6.4 of the Smithfield Town Code, provided that the town administrator in his or her sole discretion may reject any bid which he or she deems inadequate. I think the sale of property should lie with the town council, whether it's adequate or not.
That's fine.
So I would just like to strike out town administrator, say town council in their sole discretion.
Okay.
Is that a motion? Yeah, it's a motion to amend. Section 6.3, Pat,
Yeah.
the last sentence there, in B. So where it says that the town administrator in his or her sole discretion, I'd like to make a motion to strike that to say the town council in their discretion may reject any bid which they deem inadequate. Do you have it, Pat?
No, section, what is it, what?
Section 6.3, manner of sale. Want to show you?
Is it right away or conveyance?
On the conveyance.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Mr. President, while they're looking, right now the town administrator does do the bids, so this would be putting the
Is there a sole discretion to the town?
responsibility of that on the shoulders of the town council.
Town council.
if we go out to bid and then we make a decision which one is the lowest bid through the
Mhm.
qualified process, we ultimately come to you, we can't enter into the contract without your approval. So we do need to have the administrator, his or her, office do that.
Sorry, as I was explaining
Well-
that, Pat, I missed the nuance of what you were explaining.
Well, I think the way it's written right now is valid because of what happens is the administrator will go through the bid process, will determine which one is the lowest bid, and then we come back to you for ultimate approval of the lowest bid or whichever one is selected.
Well, in
do
this
that.
case, the lowest bid, the highest bid.
So what?
Right,
The higher bid.
yeah.
Yeah, the highest bid.
Yeah.
Oh, the high
Yeah.
bid.
Normally you're looking for the lowest bid, in this case you're looking for the highest bid.
I guess the point is that Mr. Zalinski is not like the town administrator making a previous decision that the town council would otherwise have accepted. That's the only rationale.
Well, you know what, I think you summed it up very well, Mr. Erickson, that was my thought process.
But does the council want to be involved in the bid process?
No, the council doesn't want to be involved with the bid process, but I think what the councilor is saying, and I think I concur, is that
I don't know how else
we'll
to say
decide,
it. We'll decide.
how low it is, and if it's too low, because an abutter is looking for a real deal, we may reject it.
Right, no, but you ultimately do make the final decision, but not on the bids itself per se. So this is just a bid process where the administrator's doing it. The ultimate decision is approval by the town council on 6.32. So you ultimately say yes or no.
I actually have that written down, 6.32, I get that, but why go, two
Well,
sections?
what happens if the town administrator doesn't want to bring any of it to the town council?
Well, then I agree with you, then that's a problem in that sense, but that's any bid. I mean, they do all the bidding, it would be almost any bid process. If the town administrator doesn't want to bid, then it doesn't get sold, or it doesn't get bought, however you look at it.
Yeah, we're not talking about purchasing a vehicle here for the lowest price, we're looking at selling town land for the highest price. So I think there's a difference there that I would like to see. My motion was...
Maybe the wording needs.
Well, I just think that the wording's fine, it's provided that the town council, in their discretion, may reject any bid which they deem inadequate.
Can I make a suggestion in the interest of time?
Yeah.
Because this is only a first reading.
Yeah.
We've had some discussion on this. I would respectfully request that we consider this our first reading,
Okay.
give this further thought between now and the next time we have a reading,
Right.
and we can have a more robust debate.
I'm comfortable with that. Mr. Flattery?
Can we add another thing to 6.28, Mr. President, if the council is done?
Yes.
Can we have some wording in that section that excludes open space land that's required by planning and zoning? You want to set off a fire storm, you go tell somebody you're going to sell their open space land in the Nipsey or Oakwood Estates or some other place like that. You got to put something in there that protects it.
Is that good feedback for the?
I think that's a great idea, Mr. Yasko.
So
Okay.
maybe it just means in that first sentence where it says Town of North Smithfield, except open space land as deemed by, who does that, planning board, zoning board, whatever?
Is there anybody who'd like to speak on this issue? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to continue this to May 19th.
So moved.
Both the public hearing and the discussion by Councilor, or action moved by Councilor Zelinski, seconded by Councilor McGee. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So that's going to go to,
Mr. President, you're going to consider that the first reading?
I'm going to consider that the first reading. Do we need to take a motion that we're doing that? I entertain a motion that we consider this as our first reading. Moved by Councilor Yaspek, or second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Zelinski. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. May 19th. The next one is,
Abandonment?
pardon me,
Abandonment?
is item number 8, proposed ordinance regarding amendment regarding Chapter 14, Section 14.5, rights of way. This is both a public hearing and discussion by council for order action.
Yes. This is an ordinance that very few towns have. I haven't found one yet It's determined by Chapter 24-6 of Rhode Island General Law. And it basically says that you have to go through a public hearing process, notification 3 weeks prior to the public hearing. And then you have to notify the direct abutters, not within a certain number of feet, the direct abutters. And at that point, it goes to the planning board immediately for determination of whether it's consistent and whether it's desirable, because the planning board presumably has control over the list of roads. So in this case, there is a state law that goes back to 1896, and some of it's still in there. Like you have to go out and tack a notice to the tree at the beginning and end of the roadway to be considered, and then you've advertised your public hearing. And the Supreme Court has been very, very clear that all of those details have to be followed in that arcane law to have it considered a true abandonment. So that's basically it. Consider it the first reading. If you want me to incorporate every little nuance in Chapter 24-6 of the state law, I can do that, but other towns don't even have an ordinance at all. And we could actually do abandonment just by doing it the correct state way. So you may not even need this, although I think it's always helpful to know that there's a process. Now, in terms of where the land goes, in this case, there are a number of towns listed, I think 5 or 6, that have special grants from the state legislature to sell the land to the abutter. And if there are 2 butters, there's a presumption that they'll sell half to each, but that's not stated in the state law. And in every case, you have to get fair market value. You cannot just divide and give it away. And the whole point of, in the previous law, of turning it over to a real estate agent is that you have some guarantee that it will go at a fair market value, but they would have the ability to make it known first to the abutter, so that the abutter would have first dibs at it if they want to pay fair market value. That's the only case where you want to deviate from trying to get the absolute highest bid on it. But there is no case. I suspect there has been a practice of giving away land to abutters, but it is not sanctioned in state law, and it would be a violation of state law.
Anybody have any questions? I would entertain a motion to consider this the first reading of this proposed ordinance.
So
Moved by Councilor Yazbek, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman G, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And I would entertain a motion to continue.
The public hearing and the second reading to May 19th?
Correct. Motion by Councilor Yazbek, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Lewinsky, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries. We've already done item number 9. So moving on to item number 10, discussion by council vote of other action on consent agenda. Any proposals to remove items from the consent agenda?
Mr. President,
Yes.
remove the minutes of March 17th from the consent agenda.
Okay. Proposal to remove items number,
March 17th,
March
minutes of March
17th.
17th.
and,
And March 3rd, if we're staying with minutes.
yeah. March 3rd, just wanted to make sure this wasn't. So motion to remove the minutes of March 17th and March 3rd. Is there a second? Motion by Councilor
Second, yes.
Lewinsky, seconded by Councilor Yazbek. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed?
Payment of bills?
Remove payment of bills. Motion by Councilor Yazbek. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Lewinsky. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And, okay. So with that done, is there a motion to accept the remainder of the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Yazbek, is there a second by Councilor McGee? Is there any further discussion? All in in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. On to item number 11, discussion by council, vote or other action on specific items removed from consent agenda. Councilman Zawinski.
Mr. President, under the March 17th minutes, page 3, second to last paragraph, Mrs. Walensky noted there are several lots that could be changed in the surrounding area because of concerns over protecting the water supply.
You said the second page,
Yeah, actually, page 3, Mr. President.
page 3.
Handwritten page 3, I'm sorry. Up in the
Oh.
mine's up in the right-hand corner.
Okay, can you tell me what's the topic? What's the?
We're talking, it's had to do with Subaru and protecting the water system over there. So it's the second paragraph from the bottom.
That's March 17th?
That is?
Oh, I'm on the wrong one, sorry. That's why.
Getting late.
Okay, yep.
Okay, so protecting the water supply, Pat, you have it? Okay. On handwritten page 4, right at the top, said Mr. Zwanski disagreed and stated that what I would like for the record and what I believe I said, or paraphrased, and stated that the area is in the water, Woonsocket water supply, and existing homes in this area have already been affected by MBTEs, which are methyl butyl ether, if I remember correctly. MBTEs were covered.
You want to add?
Yeah, because I was kind of adamant about it, and Swansea stated that this area is in the Woonsocket water supply area, and that existing homes in the area have already been affected by MBTEs. And then, of course, you're going to James Carey after that, Pat, you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, got it?
Any other
That's the
proposed
motion.
changes? Motion by Mr. Councilor Zawinski, is there a second?
Does he have more?
Oh,
We do
actually,
all
yeah,
of it.
I've got one more, under, public facilities, but you want to do one?
Yeah, let's do them all, and we'll
Okay,
do it as an
on,
individual.
under public facilities, above consent agenda, we have discussion following regarding whether to have separate question on the ballot, one for the public facilities plan and one for the road improvements. Mrs. Walensky was in favor of separating the road repair bond and the public facilities bond. I was kind of adamant that I wanted to see those two separated. But I'd like that to be in the record. And that's it for March 17th.
Is there a motion to amend the minutes as described?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Yazbek, is there a second?
Go ahead, you made it.
Second?
Seconded by Councilor Zawinski. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, roll call vote, please.
Second by Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zawinski?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes.
March 3rd.
March 3rd.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Top of handwritten page 5. In the discussion with Mr. Lombardi, Mr. Yazbek was told by Mr. Lombardi that he could hire outside counsel, Mr. Robinson, because it was in his contract. Mr. Yazbek feels the contract is in violation of the town charter, and he doesn't understand how a contract with someone on his job duties, instead of the word performance and responsibilities, can override provisions. It was never about performance, it was about job duties and responsibilities. So strike the word performance, replace it with the word duties.
I also had a proposed amendment to that same section. That was an amendment. So the paragraph beginning with having been advised,
What page are you
I'm sorry, final page,
on?
fourth paragraph down, having been advised by the town solicitor, Mr. Flaherty, when the solicitor approved to hire outside counsel should it be determined if it's necessary, the council was briefed in executive session at the February 10th meeting, and it was voted in open session to adopt an agreement. It says that referenced this, and I just think it should be clarified to say that referenced the hiring of an independent accounting consultant to review the school books.
What paragraph is
It's just where, in that, the having been paragraph,
that? Yep.
instead of the first sentence ending with that reference this, see where it says this? take the word "this" out and replace it with reference the hiring of an independent accounting consultant to review the school's books. Because I don't think that the word "this" accurately describes what we were referring to. So I would entertain a motion to amend the minutes of March 3rd as amended by Mr. Yazbak and Flaherty.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Zawinski, seconded by Councilor Yazbak. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, a roll call vote. Zawinski, seconded by Yazbak.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion carries. We didn't do April 7th, did we?
So there was no, we didn't know in public, correct?
Yeah.
So it's fine.
One word.
Oh, you want, okay.
No, I don't think that, I didn't pull it out, so I don't think we can do it now. Okay. On to,
Actually, we could have been unanimously.
good?
Yeah.
All right, all right. And,
Gotta get
entertain a
it
motion.
right.
Huh?
Gotta get it right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so entertain a motion to consider amendments of the April 7th meeting minutes.
So
Moved by Councilor Zawinski, seconded by Councilor Yazbak. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I think a roll, it's going to be unanimous.
Okay, we'll take a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. So on the first page, under the Rhode Island Department of Education application for school reimbursement eligibility, second paragraph says Mr. Flaherty was going to propose using the contingency fund for payment. However, there is a balance, blah, 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 blah. I think we need to have in the word contingency infrastructure fund, because it's a different fund, contingency. First page, under Rhode Island Department of Education, second paragraph, Mr. Flaherty was going to propose using the contingency infrastructure fund. Just adding in the word infrastructure.
Motion to accept.
Motion by Councilor Zawinski, is there a second? Seconded by Councilor McGee and Yazbak. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, and ask for a roll call vote.
Yes.
Mr. McGee? Mr. Yazbak?
Yes.
Mr. Zawinski?
Yes.
Yes, motion carries. On to item number 12, old business. I would, unless there's anything really pressing, I would propose that we've got 5 minutes left in our agenda.
We got payment bills.
Oh, we've got payment of bills, actually. That was one of the things that we had taken out, and I did have questions on that. Anybody care to,
Mr. President, I need to abstain on most of this, but I'd like to discuss Nicole Shassa, who's not a client, Partridge Snow and Hamhon, who's not a client, Vincent Regasta, who's not a client, and the city of Woonsocket on the sewer, city treasurer on Woonsocket on the sewer,
okay.
those items. And take those as a discussion point, and the rest.
The old
Yeah,
things, okay. Would you like to begin?
I don't know if there was any others.
Well, I had some, but we can always do that after you're done.
Just for the administrator, I don't, if somebody's performing administrative assistance work as an intern or anybody, I think they need to go through payroll. Mike?
We did.
Okay.
We changed it, yes,
All right.
you're right. Good catch on that.
I had the
That's
same
Nicole Johnson.
Okay, all right, so just, I don't want to have any problems with local IRS people.
Good thing.
All right, that was it. City of Woonsocket, I had a tag, but then I saw a memo from the finance director that it was before, we were 2 quarters behind on the sewer and finally came through.
Well, we've been asking for a bill, and we always have to ask for bills from the city of Woonsocket, which is odd.
Yeah,
I mean, they're always saying that they have cash flow problems. So we contacted them several times to get an invoice, and I believe we did get it in. And if we were not, I was going to ask her to send it in. And anyway, you know, we have the money we collected, if they should have it. So. Yep.
Okay, so we're done with one topic?
Yep.
Next one,
Is that close?
we're doing payment bills right now.
Just want a separate vote on the
You had a question about Partridge Snow and Harm?
yeah, I just want to do a separate vote so I can vote no, and it's the same reasons I did last
Okay.
one. Same thing with Augusta, and I think there was one other.
Okay. I had that tagged as a question, and maybe, I know that Brenda's not here, but some of the specific items under Partridge Snow, you know, it was general February for 2,700, I wasn't sure what that was.
Sure. That's the, is it landmark? That's the landmark receivership that Rick was involved with when he was here. And I kept him on. We ended up receiving 100% of the funds that the receivership, that was owed during the receivership.
Okay.
So, and it was, it was a large amount of money.
And so that, I presume that would, when it says general March, I mean, I guess it would have been helpful if it just referenced, you know, landmark receivership, so that we know. The other one was Kimberly Enterprises.
Right.
Is that good?
Kimberly is yeah, it's the same owner of Silver Pines, and same owner, I believe.
He has an ownership interest, perhaps?
I thought he did. All right, then I'm sorry, but it's a developer, that had a zoning issue that appealed it. And there's an agreement, we went before a judge, there was an agreement, and for some reason, it's not being signed on their side. It's just taking more time than I expected.
I'm going to need to ask for a motion to extend to 10:35.
So,
Moved by Councilor Zawinski, is there a second? Second by Councilor Yazbek, is there any discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
fine, yes.
Yes. Okay.
And, Mr. President, if I may just address Mr. Augusta. Mr. Augusta does the police matters and personnel matters. We had other counsel prior to me being here on that for personnel matters, and Mr. Augusta is far less per hour than the previous attorney that was on personnel matters.
Okay. Other question on the same page, 8 of 13, total for North Smithfield tax, that lists, you know, Woodruff Park, Scholars Hall. I'm just not familiar with what the tax bill is. I just don't understand that.
That's sewer
Okay,
water.
okay,
That still has to go over to the enterprise fund.
all right.
I can tell by the account numbers, SS is sewer.
Okay. Then on the bottom of the page, to Mr. Vadney, reimbursement for plow damage. I just was, does that fall under the same thing as when somebody hits a pothole and they get a tire? What was that?
And that was actually a lot of damage that was done evidently to his
Plow?
lawn and his
Oh.
irrigation system.
Oh, so
It's
this is
our
your,
plow.
it wasn't his plow.
It was our,
Okay.
so we're.
Because I thought there was a ceiling, a cap on the payments when we have damage to people's cars. And then, my other, page 10 of 13, under Robinson Green Beretta, the numbers for the payments seem a little bit different than what I recall, and I've obviously been involved with that project. So, it says modular versus brick and mortar analysis. I do remember that. I remember that the amount approximately of $74.20, give or take. But the one right above that seems like it's the same, services B&M brick and mortar analysis, for an additional $4,000, which was invoiced on 4/17. And I'm just not sure what that references.
Denise would know, and she was available today. It would have been, you know, if you do have questions in the future, we can answer them before, so we can zip through these, but I'm not sure
Okay.
enough to answer that.
And I get that answer because I know I was in touch with Tracy, and then it was just a busy day, and I wasn't able to get to Denise, so, could we recommend holding at least that one?
Yeah, you want a motion?
Yes,
So,
please. Moved by Councilor Zawinski to.
For the amount of $4,112.57.
Correct. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McGee. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes, that's all I had for questions. You're going to recuse from the remainder. Is there any
Well,
other?
I just want to vote no on the legal.
Oh, right.
It has nothing to do with what services were provided. Again, it's the
Okay,
procedure.
okay. Do you need a motion for that, or you just want to voice your?
Yeah, if somebody wants to make a motion to approve those, I'll just vote no, and then I'll abstain on the
Okay.
next.
Is there a motion to approve the remainder of the payment of bills?
Do the legal first.
Pardon me?
Somebody could entertain a motion for the legal, to approve
Oh.
those, and I'll vote no, and then I'll.
Is there a motion
abstain.
to approve the bills for legal services contained in the payment of bills?
So
So
moved.
Regasta and Patrick Snow and Harm.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Zawinski. Is there a second?
You can second.
Okay, yeah.
We're gonna vote.
Is there a second? Second by Councilor McGee. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza?
No.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
And Mr. Henry?
Yes. Now, is there a motion to approve the remainder of the payment of bills that we did not discuss?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor McGee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Zawinski. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, a roll call vote.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza?
Abstain, clients on the list.
And Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Yes. So,
So $2,410,000 something, correct? We're gonna take out
All that
four.
stuff. we're going.
That's the $4,000, so we're gonna come up with $2,410,000, whatever that
can we dispense with the appointment of,
I just have one person, if you want to do it, it's Michael Conley, Personnel Board.
okay, motion, this is appointment by the town administrator with approval of the town council. Town administrator recommends the appointment of Michael Connolly to the position of personnel board, a 2-year term that expires on 12/1/2014. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Zawinski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McGee. Is there any further discussion?
Is he still a member of the union and what's that?
No. Oh, he's the president of the retirees, I believe, state retirees.
Do we need a roll call
He
vote
won't get, he will not get involved in
for appointments?
union.
I don't know, but what's the personnel board gonna do if he's not gonna be able to?
They can't do anything with regard to union issues anyway, as it is. Contract supersedes that.
So we have a motion and seconded. We've had discussion. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
So noted. On to new business, item number 13A, discussion by council, vote or other action on award of bids. There's 3. One is actuarial services, which I'd like to know a little bit more about that. I know that, I saw that Mr. Winkleman had some, or provided some advice, which is good because he was an actuarial. I just don't know what the actuarial services are for.
I thought he was an accountant with the house.
You have a very good
And then
memory.
you sat up here and said you know what an actuary is? Just never mind.
Well, I'm doing this in lieu of Brenda, who's not here this evening, and the bids came in. She and Mr. Winkleman did look at them. Mr. Winkleman is from the budget committee, just for the record. They looked at all those that came in, and as you see before you, there were 4 qualified companies. The lowest bidder is Danziger Markoff, LLP, for $4,750. The bid was open on March 18th, and the study is to ensure our compliance with the GASB 43 and 45, which are actuarial evaluations that are done every 2 years. And the last time it was completed was 2012.
Are there any questions?
Based upon the recommendation of the finance director and the town administrator, for awarding the bid to Danziger Markov LLP in the amount of $4,750.
Motion by Mr. Yazdick, or second by Mr. McGee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazdi?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes, motion carries.
What was the name of that?
That was the actuarial services.
Yeah, what was the name of the company again?
Danziger, D-A-N-Z-I-G-E-R,
Thank you,
last name Markhoff, M-A-R-K-H-O-F-F,
thank you.
LLP.
L-L-P.
The next item is Police Department IT IMC contract.
Well, we did get 2 bids in. They were opened on March 11th, 2014, and one of the bids subsequently withdrew their bid, one of the bidders. You do have the amounts that were here, just so that you can see. The one that did withdraw was Apex Technology Group, and they were the lowest bidder, therefore. The other that is remaining is Vaulted Computer Services, which we've had in our midst for many years. It's former Officer Bruce Central, and he does a lot of the IT work in the police department, as well as all the FBI issues and the IMC. So he was the only bidder at that point. Up to that point, Apex Technology would have been the low bidder.
Are there any motions?
Motion to accept the Vulcan Computer Services in the amount of $30,000. And I know it was a price increase. Was it less last year? Was it 23?
26, I believe, last year.
Motion by Councilor Zalinski, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor McGee. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, and ask for a roll call vote.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazdi?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes, motion carries. The third award of bid is for the financial audit contract.
Yes, that was bid opening on February 18th for a financial audit. This is a single audit that we've been discussing for several months between, for the school and the town. You have 5 qualified bidders that came in, that you can see years 2015 through 2017, the 3 years. The bids were reviewed by Brenda McDonald, Lisa Marcotte from the school department, Dennis Belleville from the school department, and myself. And we all agreed upon the following: that any audit conducted during the last fiscal year would be something that we wanted to discuss, and the final award should go to the Parmalee, Poirier and Associates, and that would be in the fiscal year 2015 in the amount of $38,370, 2016 $41,020, and 2017 $43,095. It's recommended of the finance director with the approval of the auditor general, who had weighed in and given his blessing on this, to award the lowest bidder, Parmalee, Poirier and Associates, at $383,370. The pricing for the town is $28,590, and for the school side of the audit, $15,255. It's a 3-year contract with a provision of continuation after the first year.
Now, that isn't actually the lowest bidder, correct?
That's correct.
And can you just briefly, I'd just be interested to know how the total amount for doing the single compares with the previous amounts for doing them separately? Was there a cost savings? I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
There is, it's a small,
Okay.
very, very small.
Are there any motions?
Question for the solicitor.
Sure.
Are we on good legal footing not to have to take the lowest bidder because they're disqualified, because they used to do the audit on the school department side?
They were disqualified, according to the finance director, they were disqualified for past errors. they made errors that were brought out during the process last year.
So we don't necessarily always have to take the low bid.
You do unless you have another valid reason
No,
to not.
You don't even need to go to a bid from legal and professional if you don't want to. But if you want to, and you're gonna invite people to bid, I just think you're gonna have an issue when you, in other words, I think if the determination was, well, you can't bid because you've done it for
Can't do
too
that.
long,
Right.
or you can't bid because this, that, or the other thing. But you're doing it right here, so.
Well, that's not the reason. I did have to write an opinion to the Auditor General. My reasoning was that the lowest bidder was disqualified because of errors that they made in the past.
And the Auditor General accepted that?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to award the audit contract to Parmalee, Poirier and Associates based on the town finance director's input, the town administrator's input, and clarification the town solicitor received from the Auditor General.
Motion by Councilor Zawinski, is there a second? I'll second it. Is there any discussion?
Just looking like 30 seconds into the future.
Had the motion's been seconded, good discussion, any further discussion? Hearing none, and ask for a roll call vote.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
No.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
And Mr.
Yes, motion carries. On to new business item B. And before I do that, we do have 1 minute left, so I don't know if we want to do a 5-minute extension, just so we don't have to. 5 minutes? Motion,
Yes,
5
so
minutes? By Mr. Zawinski, is there a second? Second by Mr. McGee. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. So we have discussion by council vote or other action on agreement with the Department of Human Services, Division of Elderly Affairs regarding 2014 Community Service Grant. Madam Administrator.
This is a grant that we had been made aware of by the Department of Elderly Affairs after we lost the minibus. And they told us it would be available to possibly provide some transportation services to the elderly. And it was submitted several times and rejected and back again and rejected, and finally we're at this point now, and we're just waiting for the board of directors to sign this to us. Unfortunately, with the length of time that it took to acquire it, we only have 2 months within which to utilize the $2,600. I'm still willing to give that a shot to provide some services. We would be able to pay for FlexServe or for the Rip-to-Bus or for a taxi if someone needed it. It's a very short period of time. It's not a program that we can extend. I've already asked. This woman that's been helping us with this has worked diligently. It is not, to her credit, she is persistent in wanting us to get this grant, but as you see, it started, the performance period was July 1, 2013.
So if it's a $2,400 grant, if you only spend
2,600.
500 of it, you have to send the remainder back?
Okay, no matching?
No.
Okay. Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the application for Department of Human Services Division of Elderly Affairs, RESFY 2014 Community Service Grant in the amount of $2,652.
That the administrator be authorized?
And the administrator be authorized to
Enter into the agreement.
enter into the agreement.
Thanks.
Motion by Councilor Zawinski, is there a second by Councilor Yazbek? Is there any further discussion? This isn't like CFA or Florida, right? Transportation. Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes. Final item on the agenda is, well, not the final, but the next to final, discussion by council vote or other action on resolution regarding support for the municipal road and bridge revolving fund, Office of the General Treasurer. I believe the request came from the Treasurer's Office, and given that we will be putting a question to voters in November that would utilize low-interest loan money in this fund, it makes sense that it be moved by Councilor Yazbek. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Lewis. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, motion carried.
How come you make Councilman Yazbek make this motion? He said so moved.
Just want to make a quick mention here of scheduling issues. So our next meeting is on May 5th, and we don't have a lot on the agenda, but there's two things that are very substantive. So I'm trying to keep a lot of other things off. And so that everybody knows, the first one will be the presentation of the school department planning review, and the second one is anchor sewer road. And they're both, going to take between an hour and 90 minutes. So that's why I'm trying to keep a lot of stuff off.
Does that have any interest?
Yes. You did not act on that.
I didn't think so.
Yeah,
Just Michael Connolly.
correct,
They're gonna carry that over.
correct.
I have no idea. I didn't get into it. Because I don't.
You guys want to sign?
We did. No,
Yeah, to do this.
Just put your name on it. You think I'm crazy?
just all the time.
Oh, is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilor Yazbek, is there a second by Councilor McGee? Councilor Yazbek, motion, McGee seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed. It is 10:30.